This is Barbara again with tips for new teachers. One of the most important parts of teaching, along with having control of your classroom, which will add to the control of your classroom when you have made good plans. As I said, I taught for 47 years and I always had to plan because it gave me a form to follow for developing whatever it is that I wanted the students to achieve, right? So when you plan, you do it through lesson plans where you have your standards. These are usually state standards. You also have your behavioral objectives, what you want the students to achieve and how you want them to accomplish these things. So I usually state it in my lesson plans. The student will do this with this or that. So the students will develop a line design using crayons, markers, and pencils. The students will write a story in their own words about a famous artist. Whatever it is that you want them to do, you will state it in behavioral objectives, right? Now, planning for projects, whether it's in any class, other than art, it could be in social studies, it could be in a music class, it could be anywhere. You still have to plan, you still have to have the standards that you're following, and you still need to write it down. Some schools give you a form to follow for your plans. It's usually on the internet and you fill in the information needed. If you are a specialty teacher, for example, band, say music, art, PE, physical education, you may need to make up your own form or adjust the form that they give you to fit your subject. But that's not a problem either. So some schools require that the plans be handed in weekly. Some maybe you may do unit plans. It depends on your school system and how they want that executed. Now, where I worked, we had to do lesson plans weekly. We also had to have long-term unit plans. So your long-term unit plans would include the things that you want to do over a certain amount of time. So you may make unit plans for a semester, but you may do weekly lesson plans to relate to those unit plans. New teachers, remember, you may not achieve everything you want with a given lesson plan the first time you do it. So you have to always be open to adjusting your plan to achieve whatever it is that you want your students to do. Okay? So be flexible. All right. So after you write your lesson plan, I usually would do a demonstration, which would include showing the students if it was something they had to do project-wise, how to go about developing the project. I may show them a finished product. I may also engage them on the internet to show them examples of what it is that I want them to do, or people that I want them to study, or and involve that person's information in their project or that person's technique in their project. So this can work for any subject. You know, math teachers can have projects. Science teachers can have projects. You still have to do your planning. You have to demonstrate. You have to show the students examples, and you have to engage them to make sure that they understand what it is you want them to do. And how do we do that? We have our question and answer period. After I've done my demonstration, showed my examples, used the internet for them to see things, I like for them to ask me questions. It's not always the end of the questions, of course not, but it gives us an opportunity to know as a teacher how the students are coming along with whatever it is that you have shown them to do. Then I take and I have passed out the materials that they need to do their project with. Now in art, that was a lot. As I have said earlier in my videos, I was an art teacher, but I also would always have reading and social studies as much as possible involved in all my projects, because I feel that art history is a very important part of education and art. And reading, of course, as we go through, finding out information about these projects is part of everything that we do. And the internet, again, is good for this. Now, once I've gone through all these steps and done all of this planning, I monitor my students. In monitoring them, I think about what I want my percentage outcomes to be and how I plan to evaluate. Now, prior to the students engaging in this activity, I have told them what I'm looking for them to do. I don't let them guess. I say, I want you to be able to do this when you finish with this project. I want you to know this when you finish with this project. And if possible, if I have to, I will write this down and pass it out to them. They can share it with their parents, and they can also check off things as they go along to know whether they're following my instructions. In the meantime, I'm monitoring the students. Now, this is a problem sometimes because in some school districts and some administrators feel that if a teacher's not up on her feet or his feet all the time, walking around the classroom, they're not effective teachers. That's not true. You can walk around and monitor, but you sit down and let the students concentrate on what they're doing. If they see you circling around and around and around, that's distracting. So you have to let them do their work. And then you set up a time periodically where you get up and go around. You might even say, are there any questions? How's everybody coming along? Raise your hand if you have a question. Don't let them just start shouting questions out. You always have a rule where if you have a question or an answer, you need to raise your hand. And that makes it easier for the class to continue to do whatever it is they need to do in an orderly fashion. So my percentage of outcomes vary. Some things, the percentage might be 98% of the students will do this successfully. Another percentage may be, if it's a more difficult project, it might be 85% of the students. But I always at least want to have 80% of the students or better be able to achieve success, whatever it is that I'm trying to instruct them to do. And an evaluation. When you evaluate students, do not ever take a negative stand on evaluation. Be a positive person. And if a student didn't get it right the first time, I always want to say, okay, we're going to go back. And if you need more time, I adjust the time for them, not for myself. In the beginning, I have a certain amount of time in mind, but it may not always work out that way. They may need more time than I anticipated. And that's why I say teaching is an art. And it's an art where you, as time goes by, learn when to give a little and learn when to take a little. Okay? Those are the tips for today on planning. Thank you. Subscribe to my channel and give me comments and like me. And the like is thumbs up. Thank you.